All right, guys, so someone emailed me and said, hey, they could not see the last question, that it was off the frame. So I'm going to redo it. It says an angle theta is in standard position with the terminal side in the second quadrant. So second quadrant means, I'm going to go ahead and use this circle down here. This is quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the second quadrant means it's over here. And it says to find cosine of theta if sine theta is 8/10. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to graph that imaginary point. I'm not sure exactly where this point is, but I'm going to put it right there. And I'll draw in my angle, theta. All right, so theta is right here. I'm going to drop down to the x-axis, always to the x. And then I'm going to go back to the information they gave me, which said that sine theta is 8/10. Well, we know that sine is opposite over hypotenuse, so if I'm standing at angle theta, that means that opposite of theta, over there, will be 8, and the hypotenuse, which is always across from the right angle, will be 10. All right, so we have that bag of tricks, right here, bag of tricks, but we're not always going to do these in the exact same order. So in this case, we're actually going to need to find the missing side of the triangle first. So we're going to use the Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So this is either a or b, it doesn't matter. I'm going to call it a. C is always this length, the hypotenuse. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared, the hypotenuse. So that's 64 and that's 100. I'll subtract 64 over and I'm going to get 36. And then when I square root each side, I get plus or minus 36. Now, plus or minus 6, excuse me. Now in this case, the reason I put plus or minus is because in the second quadrant, the x values, which this is an x value, it's going along the x-axis, the x values are going to be negative. So this is actually going to be -6. And so that matters, right? Because cosine, sine, or tangent could be negative or positive depending on which quadrant we're in. All right, so it says to find cosine theta. Cosine theta is adjacent to hypotenuse, which would be -6/10. All right, the last thing I wanted to add here is that a shortcut to know which functions are positive or negative in which quadrant. In this quadrant, all are positive. In this quadrant, it's sine. In this quadrant, it's tangent. And in this quadrant, it's cosine. And there's a little shortcut, there's a little mnemonic device that helps you remember it's all students take calculus. All right, guys, that's it. Have a good evening.